Hello, everybody. Good whatever time this episode is released. It seems to be different every week at this point. I used to drop in the morning. Now it's like the afternoon. It kind of depends when I get the Instagram video. I got a guy who makes the videos for me.
That is ambitious, doing this in the morning?
Well, dropping it in the morning.
Oh, dropping it.
Yeah. So then people can, start their mind-numbing job, and they can listen to me say some awful shit to them.
That's good.
Guys, again, Billy has a more illustrious life than me, so he's not here.
Yeah, sorry. It's fucking Billy, man.
Instead we have Mateos. That's the name I'm going with today.
Mateos, yeah.
That doesn't work, right?
Whatever, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a derivative, I guess, of my name. That's
Sure.
fine. Yeah.
Sure. Your real name will be in the title.
Oh,
So.
cool. That's great. I'm not even going to say my name, actually. It sounds like you got it figured out. So
Yeah. So right before we started going, you were asking me about if I have a problem amplifying on stage.
yeah, because a lot of comics, especially like newer comics, will they just don't know the right distance to hold it. Mm-hmm. So that can honestly it can affect the quality of the performance if people can't hear you enough, because you could be telling a really good joke and then it's just people can't hear you completely, or you kind of just fall off a little bit for a second and it just fucks up the whole delivery.
Oh yeah, totally. No, it's definitely something I think about or have thought about before, like where I'm gonna hold the mic. Am I gonna keep it in the stand? Do I hold the stand while I talk? Like, do you think about that? Like mic mechanics, microphone? Are we?
Yeah, because
the only two autistic people that think about this.
It is a little autistic. It's like, how am I going to hold this thing? But yeah, no, because a lot of comics, especially more experienced ones, they'll use the mic won't be like an obstacle to them. It'll just be something that they can also incorporate into their act. Mm-hmm. A lot of comics will do act outs. They'll use it fucking just dangling it, or whatever it is that they're doing.
Right.
You can use it as a prop, but another thing is that the mic just being there, if you just leave it there, sometimes it can look like it's something that you're doing out of nerves. So advice that I got about that was so that you become more present with the audience and even within your own performance, is you just kind of move the mic stand behind you or to the side. That way you can use it if you want to, but it's not obstructing you in any way. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you see a comic, they take the mic off the stand and they don't move the stand, and it bothers the fuck out of me. It's like an obstacle. It's in the middle of what you're doing.
Yeah, and then some people they'll do act outs like that. And
yeah,
it'll literally be in their way, and they'll just bump into it and shit.
Yeah, definitely. But it is something. I think early on, maybe everybody has the problem with. What was the word you said? Getting your voice loud. Amplifying your voice. Yeah. I think everyone kind of has that problem. It's either one extreme or the other. You're either too loud at first or too quiet, probably. Because I remember at first I would be maybe a little too quiet. But now you can kind of play with it. You need some kind of medium range of speaking when you're on stage, but you can make the joke better by raising your voice or lowering your voice or cracking your voice or something.
It plays into the entire delivery of the joke, depending on how loud you want to be. Definitely. Would you say that in your comedy that you play with your voice a lot like that for a lot of your jokes?
I think I have been a little bit more recently. It's definitely something that I've been playing around with. I think it adds. I think the best thing a stand-up can do is find the way that they're funny amongst the people that they're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Find that technique and get it on stage, get it in front of other people.
Yeah, when you're at your most comfortable, because that's when you'll be your sharpest. You'll just be natural, funny. You'll be present.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of times where you're with your friends and if you raise your voice at the end of this, it'll be funnier. If you pause an extra half a second, it'll be funnier. That's kind of what jokes, doing stand-up in the whole is. At this point, I kind of look at it as a fucking, how can I make this moment a hair funnier?
Yeah.
Can I do a certain inflection a certain way? Can I move my head a certain way, whip my head, or like I think of all that shit now.
Yeah, and it's you can't that could lead to like a lot of overthinking when you're up there, and then you end up like screwing yourself up because of that.
Right.
Once you're comfortable with the material that you're practicing and like or your act out, so whatever it is that you're working on, then I feel like you can kind of fine tune it with those little details.
Now, do you add to your bits? Like, will you have something that works really well, and then one night you're playing around with it, and you're like, hold on, that we can probably keep that. And then you add to it, so the next time you go, it's a little bit longer, a little bit extra.
Yeah, definitely. Because like the thing is that like when you're going up there, and I feel like this happens a lot. This happens with me sometimes, where like you go up on stage, you're doing the same joke you've been practicing maybe for like a month, and you just don't deliver it with the same passion or presence you did the first couple of times. So it kind of falls off a little bit, even though your words are exactly as they were originally, or however it is that it works. And like when it comes to the little things that you can change, it could be like the way you say it completely. Some people do accents, they do voices. I would say, what was your question again before I get off? Because it's like sometimes I get like this where I start answering a question and then I just go on this little rant, and it's kind of adjacent to what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, if we're being honest, I forgot what the question was as well.
All right.
So you should just keep going with whatever
Smoking Simian, everybody.
It's called the Smoking Simian for a reason. Everyone knows. Normally, when I first started, we used to get real high every episode.
Oh, my God.
And then it would be, yeah.
Do you do that? Do you like perform while you're high or like under the influence of some sort?
I'm like, I have. I feel like, I don't know, there's been times where I've done it and fucked up bad, and the stakes were low. Yeah. Like, I'll be at like an open mic, and I'll be like, I forgot everything.
Yeah, if it's low stakes, it doesn't really matter that much. You're like, fuck it, I'll be okay if I do mushrooms now 10 minutes before I go up,
Yeah, and then you stare at someone that kind of reminds you of your mother.
That's a very specific quote.
You think of your fucking mother's face, and you're on mushrooms. You're like,
oh shit, I'm on stage.
This is bad. No, I did have you ever done a themed show where you had to do something before your set?
A themed show? Like, give me an example of that.
Like, I did a weed show where you had to get real high. You had to get high.
Oh, they were like
everyone was stoned. Yeah, everybody was high. I haven't done one, but I've seen a hot pepper show.
Hot pepper show.
Where you eat like a fucking ghost chili and you go up there and try to do your act.
See, that's all. I love shows like that where they have like their little like niche thing where you got to do this and also perform under that pressure. It makes it a lot more entertaining for the audience, and typically those shows do better because even if you're bombing a material, people can just see the physical stress that you're under. Just
the circumstances are funny. I remember what I was asking you about. Do you keep bits, or do you add to bits as time goes on?
100%.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I will. I feel like it's a fine line, though. Like, there's some times where you need to know when to stop. And if you add too much, it gets too complex or too complicated and too much of a word problem. Yeah. Sometimes you need to know when to stop, and sometimes you can add to it. You can find another pocket of funny shit in it. But that comes... Now, I always like to ask, do you, when you go up, regardless of whether it's a mic or a show or whatever, do you go up there and use your whole time on material? Or do you like to riff? Because we've only been on one show together.
Yeah.
At which we'll talk about you being the producing side of shows, because I've never done that, and obviously I want to hear your take on it. But do you sometimes go up with the intention of fucking around? Do you go straight material? Does it matter the audience? Back and forth, whatever.
So I would say a lot of that, it depends on when you're going up on the show. So like if you're going up and you show up, you're excited, and they're like, oh, you're going first. You're like, oh, fuck. It kind of gives you less... For me, anyway, and I think for a lot of comics, it gives you less like mental freedom because you're like, shit, I gotta be ready to do this.
You gotta set it off.
So some people are very comfortable going up and just like riffing. I try to riff when I can, but sometimes it can hurt you to riff. Like
you can dig a hole for yourself.
It's like if you're in one thing that's there, but there are certain things you can riff on that usually will work well as long as it's not like you're repeating something somebody else said. Like I've been to a lot of venues that have some kind of weird thing about them, and like this venue that I'm doing now in Jersey City. It's called Under the Boot, and it's like. It's such a weird fucking vibe, but like I love hearing what comics come up with when they go on stage. It's like this this speakeasy type room. It's a long room, so already kind of weird for comedy, and it has like these weird floral fixtures in the ceiling. A lot of like purple LEDs everywhere. Mm-hmm. What was it? I think somebody said it was like because there's Under the Boot and then there's Boots and Bones, which is the club on top. It's like a bar on top, and the bar on top, it's like. They're called Boots and Bones, and it's in Jersey City, and it's the most unusual fucking bar I've seen since I've lived there, because it's like southern, like Texas themed, but also like there's a bunch of LEDs and colors. It's like Austin, I guess, like gay Texas vibes. You know?
Gay Texas.
Yeah, and it's a cool vibe because it's really interesting to talk about. But people, they go there, and it's just like for me, like I went up there a couple of times, and it was overstimulating how much shit there was going on.
Very Nashville. Mamas with Daisy Dukes and leather boots type deal.
It's like the guy who opened the bar was like, I've been from the South my whole life. I've always been country.
Yeah.
But I'm also gay now. You know what I mean? Like it's a fun vibe. It's super interesting. But so getting back to what I was saying. So stuff like that, when there's something really unique about the room, you can kind of rip off of that because it's something that everybody in the room is experiencing with you.
Right.
So more than likely they've had a thought similar to yours, or maybe even the exact thought.
Sure.
So like, oh, that's kind of weird how that's like that.
Yeah. That's a good point. Fucking around. Playfully, you got to be careful when you fuck around in the room, though.
Because you could riff off of something completely random, and it could work.
Yeah.
But it's a lot riskier.
Yes.
Because I think this can also apply to like when you're doing like crowd work and stuff. You have to find something that everybody else is also experiencing, everybody else understands at least. Mm-hmm. Because then it brings everybody together. If you're just like going up there talking about something random that you thought of, that could work too if it's unique and interesting and you deliver it well. But if people aren't there with you mentally or physically, like experiencing the same thing you're experiencing, then it tends to be like more difficult to work that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It depends the angle. Yeah, I find that to be super, like that's a different level of understanding of what it is you're doing across any art, I guess. Like it's almost like watching a musician improvise. You kind of need to be at a certain level of mastery or virtuosity, whatever you want to call it, to even be able to do that. Like when I watch a video of Jerry Seinfeld asking the crowd questions at the end of his show, or the crowd asking him questions or bringing shit up, and he's like, yeah, well, what about this? And he fucking kills every time. It's like, that's high level. That's hard.
Yeah, it takes it takes practice, like building the presence and then the confidence in your presence. Because once you get up there and you kind of know, okay, this is who I am, I'm going to do my thing, it becomes a lot easier to just kind of fuck around. Mm-hmm. You know? Like if you're going up there and you're kind of unsure about yourself, you're feeling a little down about yourself that day, people can tell.
Yeah.
Like even if it's the same joke you've been doing for years and you've perfected it to what it can be, if you're not present there, then people can notice that. Like if you go into a joke that's like very personal to you, and then I lost my train of thought. I felt like I was going to say something really deep right there, but
you got to go all the way. Whatever. It's all good. That's what we're here for.
All right, alley-oop me. Let's go.
We don't want cohesive conversation here. It's got to be scatting, like scat. What's his name? Scatman John. Was that his name? Remember back in the day?
I don't know. How old are you again? Oh, you're a little older than me? How old are you?
No, I think we're the same age. I'm 26.
26? Oh, okay. That's weird because like that doesn't feel like something I would experience.
You don't remember Scatman? I'm a scat man.
Okay, oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
That's awesome. That guy just made a living off scat. Scatting's not even a thing anymore.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
So, you've been doing comedy for how long now?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Straight.
When? Like, what month did you start in?
August.
Oh, okay, so we started in the same month. I have about a year on you.
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever did stand-up, I was 18, and I did it for like 6 months.
Oh, shit.
But not like I do it now. Like I did it like...
You take it a lot more seriously now, more consistent.
Yeah. I mean, when you're 18, you still have high-minded ambitions and dreams.
Exactly.
And,
you still have hopes.
yeah, oh, God. Thank God that shit is gone. All it took was 8 years of hardship. And now it just gets beaten out of you.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good because, especially as an adult, there's positives to that naivete of like thinking everything's going to be awesome, and but also the grounding realism of adulthood and just life and the situation you're in. It can also like bring people together and get them on your side.
Yeah.
Question: have you ever done a show where you said something stupid at the beginning of your set, and the whole crowd just turned on you? So now you're in this hole, and you got to fight your way back up because you got to do like 8 minutes or something.
Yes. It was fantastic. It was so good, dude. It was so good. I had, this was a show at a comedy club here in New York, but it was before I lived here. And I came out I actually had 2 shows. I had one upstairs and one downstairs. The first one went fantastic. No problems.
What club was it at?
Broadway Comedy Club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said upstairs and downstairs. That one, sounds like
right.
Broadway, yeah.
So the one upstairs, perfect, no problems, went great. Great crowd. And then the one downstairs, it was around midnight. Midnight from 9:10 to 9:11, the date. So it was becoming 9/11.
It was becoming 9/11.
As I was going on stage.
As you were really.
So
the pressure you must have felt.
And I went up there and I did a joke about the Taliban. And it had nothing to do with 9/11.
Did you realize that at the time?
I did it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
I totally did it on
You're
purpose.
just an asshole.
Yeah. I was like, let's see what we could do here. And the way that I opened that bit up, and I haven't done it in a while, but I would go up and be like, all right, keep it going one more time. And everyone's like, yeah, whoa. And in the middle of that applause, I go, for the Taliban. And usually it kills. It's a great way to go into it. But on this day, in the particular setting, these people were like, maybe a quarter of the crowd laughed. And it was a full crowd. And then I dug myself out of that hole by going to the bit. And then I dug myself into another hole when I got to the part where I talk about, the whole bit is about the Taliban on social media. And
I think you told me about this.
I told you about this. And I brought up how they're not allowed on TikTok. And I'm like, TikTok's for pedophiles anyway. It's all kids dancing to sexually explicit songs, whatever. That's part of the bit. And I always go, does anybody have a TikTok in the crowd? And usually people are like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, pedophiles are here. So, and then people laugh. And this time, nobody said anything because they knew something was coming. And I'm like, really? Nobody has, no one. And one woman pitied me. And and I completely stabbed her in the back. Oh, she goes, I got a TikTok. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. One person. All right, miss, you're a pedophile. That's where I was going. And that killed. And then it was like an up and down thing.
That's risky, but sometimes that plays off. Like when you find the person that actually does agree with you, and then you're like, yeah, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. No, that was a good night. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, that has happened to me. Yeah. Fucking digging yourself out of a hole on stage can be fucking brutal.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, that's a good thing. Like,
it's good to work that out and practice that, so that if that happens, you can work out of it. But I wouldn't say you should aim to do that.
No, right. Some comics do that, though. I've heard Louis C.K. will deliberately, obviously, again, super high level, whatever, he can do whatever he wants, but he will deliberately put himself in a hole and then try to work himself out.
He's really fucking good at that, though, because he
did it on SNL.
He did? I haven't seen his SNL.
Dude, one of them was like all about kid fucking. The opening monologue of SNL, it was him talking about pedophiles, and he's like, imagine how good it is for people who like it, that they would risk becoming sex offenders and going to jail. I mean, imagine how good it is. I'm saying for them. Like, he just kept... It was crazy, dude. It was so good. So good.
Yeah, he's like fucking definitely pioneered that shit. That was like, he's said some fucking wild shit over the years.
Oh, he was good
But
at
he's
it.
also developed that personality.
Right.
So like you know, he's reached that level of mastery with his own comfort, with his humor, that like he can just say shit like that, and people kind of expect it. They just don't know expect what he's gonna say or how he's gonna say it.
Right.
Like what I love about Louis is that he will usually talk about something innocent. Like he gets sympathy from the crowd.
Yes.
And then he fucking completely flips at everybody on their ass, and it's just like it's fucking crazy impressive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that's just the old bait and switch.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he's very good at that. Are you who do you typically, before you started doing stand-up, were you a fan?
Oh, definitely. When I was younger, like I was like 12, 13 years old, the first stand-up I heard was like Cat Williams, and Eddie Murphy, and Dimitri Martin.
Nice. Dimitri Martin, wow.
Yeah, Cat Williams is still fucking hilarious.
I never got Dimitri Martin.
No, Dimitri Martin is great because I grew up. We're from the Bronx. My family's from the Bronx, but my father was he sheltered us, so we didn't like go out there and like become like hood. Like a lot of our friends were, a lot of our family were from my mom's side. So like we were very sheltered. Like he would make us study every day, do homework every day, spend time with him, pray, do stuff like that.
Right.
So when like I heard Dimitri Martin, what I liked about him so much is that like he was just really like clever with his words, and you know I appreciated that when I was younger. But then I want to say like maybe like 5-6 years passed before I got into it again. Then I started listening to like Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Anthony Jeselnik, and I was just like, this is fucking awesome.
Right.
And like at that point, I was like, I want to try this because I always kind of wanted to entertain people when I was younger. Like I was very timid.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed both the
attention.
What's the word? The attention, yeah. The attention, it was very valuable to me because like when I would hang out in groups, I would want to stand out a little bit, but like only in like clever ways.
Right. You didn't want to be like a fucking people know you because you're a doofus.
Like obnoxious.
Yeah,
or anything, you know?
Yeah.
And I was definitely pretty obnoxious when I was a kid though. But so yeah, I would
You wanted to be the funny one, almost.
I did. I enjoyed making people laugh.
Yeah.
I would go out of my way to do dumb shit to make people laugh.
Of course.
And
I still do that.
Yeah, it's a great time.
You have to. I mean, you could argue doing stand-up is that.
Yeah.
While everyone else is doing productive shit, we're doing maybe the stupidest thing you can do.
But honestly, like another thing that kind of made me fall in love with the art of like comedy is like I did a lot of reading about it, and I realized after reading like a bunch of different like blogs and stuff about it, is that for a lot of comics, and this is not for everybody, but for a lot of comics, it's very freeing, and essentially what comedy is or can be is you take something really horrible or messed up, and you can find what's funny about it, what's ironic about it, and if you can do that, people will love you for that because you can take this thing that's obviously horrible and hurts everybody and makes everybody upset or anxious, and you can find something funny about some part of it.
Right.
And I didn't know what that was at first, but I realized like down the line, and I forgot where I read this quote. I read it in some internet article, but it was a really good quote, and it stuck with me, is that the art of comedy is the art of hope.
So hoping that, okay, so the art of hope meaning that because you're making people laugh, it's kind of giving a better outlook on whatever that subject is?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, and this can go to even like the dark fucked up shit, like Louis as an example. Like he makes jokes about like pedophiles and all this like really dark fucked up shit, but he's able to pinpoint the irony of it. It's like, here's this horrible thing, and here's why it's also kind of stupid.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it brings people together because everybody, like, while they could be brooding and upset and hurt by these things, they can find what there is to laugh about it. And a lot of people, when they discover stand-up for the first time, they love it. Like, friends and like family that I've invited to shows over the years for the first time. They like loved it so much, and then they continue to like go to shows and do stuff because for a lot of people they don't realize that's what stand-up is essentially. It's just finding something that that may like off the bat seem bad or horrible or just dark. You know, like the world we live in, it's full of like darkness and horrible shit. So if you can find the funny things about that, then you can bring everybody together. You know?
Right.
Like everybody's like so torn apart by their beliefs and their views on things. But if you can take a certain belief or view and pick it apart so that people both understand it, but also can see, okay, that is kind of funny.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
Like, oh, sorry. I did want to say this one thing because you were telling me we were talking before about times where I had to dig myself out of a hole.
Yes.
So here's one time. I used to do this joke like 2 years ago when I was pretty fresh into comedy, and this was around the time where did you ever hear about the female school shooter?
Maybe. I'm sure I have. There's so many. I mean they're
now
like
there's so
they're
many.
like trading cards.
Now there's so many now, but at the time it was the first instance of it happening.
Okay.
And it was just this crazy thing, and I was doing this joke for like 4 months, and then I realized, oh, okay, everybody's doing this joke.
Right.
Everybody can do this joke. You know, it was too easy of a topic. So basically, there was this like 14-year-old girl. I think she was it was like in fucking Tennessee or some fucking state down there. I don't know, one of those mid
cousin fucker states. Yeah.
One of those. Yeah,
sure.
Essentially, yeah. And basically, so this is what happened. I read the news. I saw it on the news, and I was like, "That's fucking crazy," but that's kind of fucking hilarious because it's like, even at this point, we've never heard of like a female school shooter. So a lot of the joke was just like, it was just like combining the fact that it's crazy that this happened, but also kind of being like feminist about it. You know, like saying she shattered the glass ceiling for other female school shooters.
She did. She had to have. I mean, it takes a lot. Usually, guys shoot up schools because they're undervalued. People make fun of them. Maybe they're bullied. Right? Not saying that can't happen to women, but
No, it can happen to anybody.
Sure. But ladies will never shoot up a school because they can't get fucked. Men will. men will do that.
Wow, that is a really interesting point. Actually,
right?
That might actually be true.
An incel will shoot up a supermarket, but won't happen for a woman. I don't think so. And not only because women hold the sexual power, they're not. I don't know. They're not as motivated by violence as us men are.
That's true. I mean, it's true depending on
they'll take a bath.
On where you're looking. They'll take a bath. How do you go from shooting up a supermarket to taking a bath?
That's what makes this girl you're talking about such a groundbreaking force.
It's like she took a fucking bubble bath and then shot up the school. That takes some balls, man.
I was thinking one or the other. Maybe she did. She relaxed herself, had a glass of Chardonnay.
Maybe she had like one of those standing showers and she was just tired of everything. She was like, I want to take a fucking bubble bath and I can't do this shit anymore.
Can't.
Maybe it was just one day where the wrong kid bragged about his bathtub.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And she was like, fuck this. I don't have a bath.
But let me tell you more about that.
Please keep going.
So this is what I saw in the news, and this is what I found hilarious about it. Which, you know, it was definitely one of those jokes that divided the room. Some places it would kill, some places it would not. It would particularly not kill when I was in like Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. They hated that joke.
Oh, of course.
They fucking hate, like very liberal audiences. They fucking cannot. They hate that shit.
Yeah.
So this is the finer details of that police report. So. She went to the school. She only 2 people got hurt. She shot a kid and she shot a teacher, but she didn't kill anybody. Which is crazy because it's like
wage gap. You want to close that wage gap? You better start doing better, sweetheart.
Why is it that the first time a woman picks up a gun in a school, she can't get any confirmed kills?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And that was mostly what the joke was.
And nobody fucked with it in Williamsburg.
They did not. They were just staring at me, and I was like, all right, diabetes.
Yeah. Tinder. Let me tell a joke about Tinder real quick.
Yeah, dude, it was just like stuff like that. It's like I've done this before, where I will get really excited about a premise that I have, and so I'll just keep repeating that premise without finding a way to end it or bring everybody together. Because if you're just saying this horrible thing, you look like an asshole. But if you can get everybody else involved or connected to it in some way, then
you kind of have to sell it and drag them along with you, and hopefully they get it. That's like the whole thing.
You do, and like. I think a super important thing when you're performing is that like you shouldn't do your darkest and dirtiest shit at the very beginning.
No, of course not.
You have to
you gotta
earn
ease
their
them
trust
in
first.
Yeah,
but there's also like different types of different styles of jokes you can do. Like Anthony Jeselnik, this is like a lot of the jokes that he does. He does like really dark shit, and it's almost always a betrayal. Mm-hmm. Where it's like he's talking about this thing. He's winning you over. He's like, look, I understand this. I'm normal. I'm human. And then he just lays something really fucked up.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And the hard thing, unless like you're just like kind of like that deadpan comic who always does material like that, and you can sell that. Mm-hmm. But if it's something that's just like a one-off joke for you, it could fuck up your whole set. Yeah. Because now
you got
they're not going to believe anything you say.
Right. Well, it goes back to what you were saying, and I wanted to talk about it because it leads to a greater conversation. When you were mentioning how everyone has their own ideas and ideologies and all that shit, and how stand-up is one of the ways that you can kind of make fun of it, poke fun at it, and it's also why people get the most offended in terms of performance arts.
Definitely.
It's stand-up. It has to be. I mean, music brings people together in another way by kind of amplifying whatever the idea is, right? You get a band like Rage Against the Machine, they're amplifying the idea of anti-government and that type of shit, and those are the people that are going to gravitate to it.
Yeah. With stand-up, you get a very mixed crowd of people.
Yes, that can until you get big enough and have a fan base or whatever. But yes, right. Whereas, you could have a band from the 60s talking about peace and fuck the Vietnam War and all this stuff. It does a different thing. It doesn't necessarily break down and expose whatever system or ideology that people believe in. It kind of just amplifies either the same picture or a brand new picture. Like if you're someone who doesn't fuck with shit from Rage Against the Machine, you might hear what they're saying, and maybe it'll spark a thought in your mind. But I think it's different than stand-up. Like you get the most offended. Nobody gets offended at a song. I guess people get offended at a song. If you're an old person, why they gotta say fuck every other word? Like, I guess. But for the most part, it's a little bit more of a, like when you look at music or you look at some other thing that takes you look at music and it's like this guy's playing a guitar. He's doing something that I can't. He's playing the drums. He's like, you kind of hold it in a higher regard, where stand-up is like, you can say I'm funny around people, and at an even more base level, you can say all that guy's doing is talking. I can talk. I know how to talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but obviously there's a whole bunch of other shit encompassed in it.
There's a lot of people, I think anybody who thinks that they would have fun doing stand-up should try stand-up. Because bottom line, it can be very liberating for your soul, very liberating for your mental health. Because you're going up there, you're saying these things, and if you find the right way to say them, then people will be on your side and people will give you love for that. And that's a lot of people's like driving force behind doing it is, I love the way it feels when a crowd cheers for me or laughs at things that I come up with. So that's why I'm going to keep doing this and keep getting better. I started the art form that I was really into when I was younger was I was super depressed. And the reason I was super depressed is, and I realize this now after therapy and just reflecting and shit, is that so I grew up with 3 siblings, 2 younger brothers, an older sister. Mm-hmm. My parents were separated basically for as long as I can remember. And I was never very popular in school because I was very timid and shy. I didn't develop like social skills yet.
Sure.
So because of that, I had all these emotions and feelings, and they were very intense and very personal to me. So what I would do is I would write poetry. So I would write poetry, and then sometimes I would share it and show it to people, and they would like it a lot. And I was like, this feels good, that this is something that I created that somebody can connect to and appreciate.
Yes. I think making anything is good. If you're writing poetry, if you're writing a blog, if you're writing a story, if you're playing a fucking keyboard, if you're painting something, I think everyone should have some kind of creative outlet, even if you're doing a podcast. I mean, conversation what is a conversation if not coming up with shit to talk about with another person for a while? Like,
yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Plus, you get to say that you made it, right? I mean, at the end of this, we'll be like, we just made a fucking podcast. It's pretty cool.
True that.
Plus, it shows that you can stay committed to something if you like it enough.
Yeah.
Like stand-up, any kind of creative artistic venture, I'm sure, follows a similar thing where, like, there's so many years of, fuck, is this going to work? Like, am I going to have to do something else? Like, I know you graduate, you got a college degree, I got a college degree. I look at it as like an afterthought.
It's like a little gold sticker.
Yeah. It's like
for you.
After, if I'm still a bum after 10 years of doing this, okay, maybe we'll tap into that little degree. But
yeah, I feel that.
You know what I'm saying? Now, do you feel a similar way about going to college? Like, what did you do it for? Did you do it because, like, when you went to college, you weren't doing stand-up yet, correct?
No, I wasn't.
Right.
I started pursuing my degree in biology when I was right after high school.
Yep.
And it wasn't because I wanted to go to college or I gave a fuck about biology. It was just because, like, I needed to do something.
Yes.
And my mom was always pressuring me. She was like, you need to go to school or you need to get a full-time job. You're not staying in my house for free. Like a loving parent does. And and it's out of love.
Your parents immigrants?
A lot of fucking pressure as a new adults.
Right. Are your parents immigrants? Before we keep going with this,
no. Well, not technically, no, because both my parents are from Puerto Rico. My father's from the island. My mom, she's a New Rican.
Okay, but your dad is from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Okay. I forget it's a part of America.
I know, and you know how much that sucks sometimes.
Yeah,
it's like it's great because it's like if you're born in Puerto Rico, regardless of your true ethnicity, you are a Puerto Rican. Therefore, you are American, which is great. But on the flip side, a lot of other Latino countries and cultures don't fucking like us.
Because of how tied you are to America?
It's entitled. It's not entitled, but it's like why do we get that? And I guess if you look back historically, whatever, it just kind of ended up that way. We have no control over that. But fucking, I have a coworker who's Dominican and she was born in Puerto Rico, so she's a citizen now. So like some people will go to Puerto Rico and then have their kids there so that they get citizenship.
Right.
It's a high IQ play right there.
You're also one of the biggest Puerto Ricans I think I've ever met, if I'm being honest. At least that I've seen in person.
Yeah,
I grew up around
Puerto Ricans.
I grew up around a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. There's a lot in Providence. Where I'm from, Providence, Rhode Island. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. And yeah, you might be the biggest one.
Wow.
that I've seen.
I'm flattered.
No, I asked if your parents were from somewhere else because mine are. And I think what happens...
Portuguese?
Half Portuguese, half Italian.
Okay.
And my parents are from their places. My dad's from the Azores.
So your parents are immigrants?
Yes. So I think something happens when you're raised by immigrants because they have a very specific skill set. They have a very specific schooling when it comes to America. They came here and they didn't know the language. They had to be very weary of people.
Yeah.
They needed to find a way to make money because that's what this fucking place is run on. You can't not make money.
Yeah.
It's not like where my dad is from. You can just lay on the beach all day and nobody cares about money. It sounds fantastic. I'm like, why did you ever leave?
Yeah, right. Like I've heard of so many like people from like Latino countries who are like, oh yeah, my family has a mansion in Dominican Republic. I'm like, why the fuck are you here? You live in a studio with your 2 siblings. You know, like.
Back in my country, we ride horses and eat mangoes. Like, what are you doing here? You came here to work like a dog. Like, it fucking,
Apparently, the best fruit comes from anywhere but here.
The best what?
The best fruits.
The best fruits, of course, yeah. Especially Latin American countries. But like I was saying, they had to learn a lot on their own, and they had to work these awful odd jobs or whatever. So when they have kids, they have to be like, hey, you have to go to school because if not, you're going to work like an asshole like I did, like a dog. So they kind of like imprint that shit on your, at least when you're growing up. They don't want to hear, I'm going to go be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
At least at first. My family's a little more supportive now, but yeah.
No, I get it. It's not something, I mean, well, for one thing, it's a performing arts. If you're like, any performing art, if you're like, I want to pursue this thing that statistically I will not make a lot of money in unless I'm super talented or lucky. You know? That can go from like musicians, stand-up, artists, any of that. Like that goes for any art form. If you pursue some sort of creative pursuit without like the confidence backing from your family or whoever's around you that you have that talent, it's very difficult to get into it because a lot of people, they're like, oh, you're still doing that? It's like, yeah, I told you I wanted to become professional, you know?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing, you fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, my parents would be like, I'd be a little kid, right? And I guess when you're a little kid in America, you have to know what the fuck you're going to do, right? Like, I'm talking about 10 years old, and they're telling me about, well, someday you're going to go to college, and you're going to do all
PSATs and shit. I didn't want to take a fucking I wasn't giving a fuck about PSATs.
You're going to do all...
I was a sophomore. I was just enjoying history.
Yeah, right. You're going to do all the things that we didn't do. You're going to get an office with an air conditioning and all this shit. And I'd be like, they'd be like, what do you want to do one day? And I'd say something, I want to play the guitar. I want to be a rock star, or I want to be an actor or something, stupid. and my parents would be like,
hold your horses there, Antonio. It's not stupid, all right?
These are dreams. No.
It might be a little stupid depending on again how talented you are.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And my parents would always say the same thing. They'd be like, you can try, but there's a lot of competition. Yeah, you should go to college. It's true. But you know what else is true? There's a lot of people who get finance degrees as well. A lot more people get finance degrees than there are jobs, real jobs for that field.
Really?
Oh, totally, dude. The finance field is arguably the most saturated. I mean, I guess you could say like tech startups, those are kind of a thing too. But finance, the most saturated thing, the most saturated industry any person can get a fucking degree in. So I went and got one of those, and I'm like, oh wait, I have to fight for a spot that's already been given away to the nephew of the VP of the company. Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying because like with a finance degree, it's tricky because it's a degree that a lot of people pursue because there's money in it. Obviously, there's money in dealing with money,
right?
But when it comes to like pursuing something in college, I think you could either go for something creative, something that you're passionate about, and that could pay off, or it could not. Or you could go for something that's more practical, that's like in demand. That's why the medical field is always going to be in demand because there's always going to be people sick and dying. There's always going to be new diseases and new treatments needed. There's always going to be a need for scientists and for stuff like nurses, doctors. Because think about it, like if it always comes down to this. If you're like in a post-apocalyptic world, right?
Which we will have
you think
in our lifetime.
The lawyer or the finance guy is going to have a seat in the
There's no laws. There's no fucking laws anymore.
It might have leadership, which is an important quality.
Right.
But like when it comes to like the bare bones necessity of society, keeping people alive, knowing how to grow food,
builders,
even like someone who knows how to cook stuff, like that's valuable because it's like God forbid you have to end up in a situation where you have to work with very limited food and supplies. At least this guy kind of knows what's safe, what will kind of ensure like survival. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So like when it comes to like oversaturated fields like finance, they're oversaturated now because the world, or at least the U.S., is kind of thriving in its own right. You know, but like if it weren't the case, then you would see a need like when COVID was happening, there was a huge need for nurses. You know,
right.
There was a global health crisis. There was a huge need for nurses and doctors, and fucking finance people. I'm pretty sure they weren't like what was the term they used? Like the necessary workers, the essential workers.
Essential workers. Yeah.
I don't
didn't
know
really
if I would consider
need
them essential for that particular crisis.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, those are the best bet. You know, versus like studying music or something like that. You could do it, and some people they become extremely talented and masterful in their craft. But it's like a lot of it comes down to your drive. You know, you could fucking what is it? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's like some real fucking shit.
Oh yeah,
Like,
totally.
You could be super like there are people I know who are like really amazing singers or really amazing writers, but then they chose like to be a biologist or work in finance or something. And it's like, okay, it's great that you did this thing. It's practical for you. It works. You're good at that too. But imagine you had taken that thing you were talented at and just had that drive. You know, I think if you are talented and you have the work ethic, that it's 100% possible for you to become like famous or successful in whatever art it is you do.
Yeah, I think
even when it
people
comes like rappers and musicians and stuff.
I think it comes down to people's risk tolerance, what they're willing to do. Like some people are, I used to work out with these two brothers, and back home, shout out Sandbergs. They not Jewish, but they were like naturally strong. When we'd be in the gym, they were like they were both lighter than me at one point. We're probably around the same weight now. But they were both lighter than me at one point, and they could lift either the same or more than me, and they just had this genetic fucking thing. They're part Swedish, so they got Vikings somewhere in the back. So they could have totally pursued, a route toward powerlifting or bodybuilding. We were all into it at one point. We were all very into it as youngins. And then something happens, and you're like, that's not necessarily, where I want to go with that. There's a lot of risk involved in doing that type of shit. It all depends where people want to go. It's like when you hear the story of the guy that was a musician for a really long time and then gets married and now he hasn't touched his guitar in years. You know what I'm saying? It's just in the back of the fucking... We're adding to the nicotine addiction.
100%.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm fueled by nicotine. 100%.
Oh, it's nice. The one you gave me at work wasn't bad. I didn't mind it.
Oh, yeah? I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
That was a 6 milligram one, I'm pretty sure. Or it might have been a 3. I don't know.
Is that the higher? The Zins. We're talking about Zins.
Yeah, I think it was a 6 that I gave you. But it wasn't that bad, right? But did you feel like a rush, a difference in your energy?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a little bit. I didn't mind it though, because anytime I love nicotine as well, but I like to smoke. I like to smoke.
Smoking is addicting just because it's fun. It's fun to blow.
It's so
smoke.
nice.
It's just
it is, right? It's
vaping too. That's why that's another reason why I do the pouches is because one thing is being diabetic. Another thing that I kind of had to overcome was I was very lethargic. So I had very, very low energy, very tired, very depressed, and irritable all the time. And at the time, I didn't know how to compensate for that. But then I realized after a while that that was a problem, that it was affecting me, my personality, and how I was treating people, my relationships with everybody.
Right.
So there came a point where I was just trying out different vices to see which one was going to be the one that brought me up just enough. For a while, I was on caffeine pills.
Nice.
Which
those make you lose weight, right?
They do help. They boost your metabolism a little bit because your heart's working a little harder.
Yep.
So yeah, I was taking caffeine pills, and those things are no joke. I had to stop because I would go on stage and I was shaking.
So you don't do like coffee or like a tea, like a hot tea?
I do coffee.
Yeah.
I do tea. Some tea works better for me than coffee does because I've consumed so much caffeine that like it just doesn't work the same anymore. But like it was at a point where I was taking these caffeine pills. Each pill was 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is about 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So
I've had 2
I was at
today.
a point. What's that?
I said I've had 2 today, but keep going.
Caffeine pills or coffee?
No, coffee.
Caffeine pills are crazy, man. I was at a point where I built up my tolerance with caffeine so much that I was taking like 7 in a day.
God damn.
Which is like 14 cups of coffee.
Fuck.
And I was chilling.
Just to keep it pushing.
Just to keep it pushing because I felt like I wasn't thinking quickly enough, especially as a performer. Like I'd want to get up on stage and just be more prepared to handle situations and handle the silence if it happens, you know?
Sure.
So like for a while it was caffeine pills. And then for a while it was Adderall that I was getting from my siblings because I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until later, which I did. And the Adderall was cool too, but like Adderall causes circulatory issues, which as a diabetic is already not good for me.
Right.
You know?
Neuropathy, the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, so like it could constrict blood flow to like certain parts of your body. So like that's really bad as a diabetic. That's something that we have to deal with.
Right. Oh yeah, my family, that runs in my family. It scares the shit out of me.
It's not fucking fun, man. I've been diabetic for like since I was like 13, so it's been like half my life basically I've been diabetic.
Right.
And like that played a huge role in why I was so lethargic and miserable all the time because I was not taking care of myself. I didn't have the resources or the support to take care of myself and learn how to love myself enough. So now, like, fast forward 10 years later, at 21 years old, and I do a joke about this. I went to a Broadway show one day with my girlfriend at the time, and my blood sugar was out of control, as it had been for years. And I would take my medication because if not, I would get really sick. Like, if I show you pictures of me when I was younger, when I was like skinnier. You might think, oh, you look good there. Like, you look slim, you look good. But I was actually at my most unhealthiest. Because
you were down for a bad reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, like, because people don't... a lot of people generally don't know this. But insulin does a few different things. One of those things being it regulates your blood sugar. You eat something, it goes high, insulin stabilizes it. It needs to be around 100 at all times. Also, it has an enzyme in it that digests food, that metabolizes food. So I would eat like shit. I would drink like a gallon of iced tea a day. My blood sugar would be like 600 constantly. And I wouldn't gain any weight regardless of my horrible eating habits because I literally just wasn't absorbing any nutrients.
So anything, even if you ate something that was good for you, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. I wasn't absorbing any of it. And like... What fixes that? Is that like, do you supplement vitamins? Is it a medication? You just take medication?
Insulin. Like you, non-diabetic, your pancreas produces insulin, and that's why you're able to metabolize food normally.
Right.
What I found ironic about the whole thing was that when I was super skinny and I thought I looked good, I was actually very unhealthy, and I was in pain a lot. And then once I started to take my insulin and monitor my blood sugar better, I started to gain weight because I still had the same eating habits.
Right.
So...
But arguably getting healthier.
Yeah, healthier. Yeah. But I just it was just like either way I was unhealthy, but I was super unhealthy to the point where I was like killing myself. Oh, so going back to the Broadway show thing. So one day I was at a Broadway show with my girlfriend at the time, and it was waitress. They were like giving out these little pieces of pie. So I had a piece of pie. And
at a Broadway show, they give you pie?
Yeah,
I've never been.
It's the theme. Well, I mean, this was for waitress. They're not running anymore. They're running for like 6 years, and it was a fun show. But the whole thing was like they gave out like they were selling like these little pies. It was like part of the theme of the show.
Yep.
And I remember I took a couple bites of it, and then we were in a dark room, so I couldn't really tell at first. And then I just I blinked and I opened my eye, and there was this huge black eye floater. And
like you couldn't see.
I was like, I couldn't see unless I moved my eye around, kind of switched the fluid around a little bit, then I could see. But so what had happened was I had done so much nerve damage that And essentially, what sugar does, what glucose does to your blood without insulin, is it will cause your blood vessels to rip and tear if that circulates your blood for too long. So it'll cause internal bleeding within your veins. So basically, the veins in my eyes were bleeding, and that's why that black splotch was there.
Fuck.
So it was fucking terrifying.
Oh, of course.
I couldn't see very well. I had to keep like moving my eye around. You know, like when you get an eye flutter, you kind of move your eye around. It was like an eye flutter, like a kind of like clear, transparent-ish, but it was like black, like solid, like black, weird shaped thing. And I moved my eye around, I'd be able to see, but I was freaking out. It was terrifying. And then I did get it treated though. I don't deal with that so much anymore nowadays, thankfully.
Right.
But you know what the treatment for that was?
What is it?
Two things. You get LASIK surgery.
Okay.
Where they can basically use a laser to seal the leaking blood vessels. Mm-hmm. Or you get injections in your eyeball to fill the fluid that's been lost. And then through proper maintaining your blood sugar, eventually your nerves will heal on their own. But there comes a point where your nerves become too damaged that they can't heal. Luckily for me, I didn't get to that point, but I was on the brink.
And if you get to that point, is that just going blind? Is that what happens next?
It's going blind. It's losing a toe. It's like that's how people get amputated.
Right. Neuropathy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I was going through neuropathy, and so for like 6 months, I had to go to the doctor. They would dilate my eyes, numb it out, and then they would inject fluid into my eye, which it's such a weird thing to describe what it feels like because it's not even it hurt. It was like unbearable pain getting a needle in my eyeball, but it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced.
Fuck.
It was.
I bet.
And then there was this one time where I had a different doctor there, and she fucked it up. So literally, my eye started bleeding.
Damn.
So like for 2 weeks, my eye was just blood red.
Oh my god. Dude.
Yeah, but the good thing is that after like 6 months, it was damage in both of my eyes. It was worse in my left eye. After 6 months, I had almost completely reversed it. Nowadays, I'll see little bits of it here and there, which I really have to start like I take a lot better care of myself by contrast, but I'm still not where I need to be.
Right.
In order to like.
So what do you try to do now? I see you posting pictures of you in the gym. Do you try to get to that a little bit more often? I feel like that anybody, if you took a person with the same condition as you, and then you're next to them, and you guys have the same dimensions, the whole thing, and you exercise, and the other person doesn't. Even though you guys have the same ailment, the effects of the ailment won't be
100%. Yeah, I wasn't
prominent.
Yeah, no, I wasn't like I was working out like some, but like not a lot.
Yeah,
and because when you're exercising, your blood flow increases. That's why like runners, they'll never have any problem with circulation because they're always running. They're always getting full like blood flow to their body.
Right.
Because when two things happen, your veins will start to bleed, which will lower your blood pressure, and then also your veins will constrict. And once they start to constrict, you can't get a lot of blood to those areas, which is why like you'll see diabetic patients in hospitals who like before they get amputated, their fingers are like purple or green, or they're just because their finger just died.
They lost the circulation.
They stopped getting blood flow to it.
Sure.
So if you're exercising, that's why exercise is so important. That's why like I try to go as often as I can. Right now I'm going like 3 times a week, which is okay, but I need to go like every day if I want to reverse the damage that's already been done.
Right.
So like,
well, you also got to
get back into.
You got to figure in rest days as well. I think the biggest thing for men is the diet part. Like I
100%.
think
I eat like shit.
I think the ladies, when it comes to ladies getting in shape, the harder part for them is in the gym stuff, and they're a little bit better at maybe the diet. I'll just have a salad. Like they're good at that. Guys, on the other hand, we just want to go and lift tons of weights. Go as hard as we can.
The 5 guys order 3 meals. And
because exactly. Because I just deadlifted 315. I'm gonna go eat 6 cheeseburgers now.
As like a reward. Which really, it's not a healthy way to look at it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, what you're eating is fuel for your body. It's like you wouldn't put like diesel in a regular gas tank of a car because it would just be the wrong thing and it would fuck up your engine.
It's also
the same thing like for your body.
It's also super hard for everyday people to get access to the best shit. I mean, you can try, right? I mean, Most of our meat is probably got some shit in it.
Yeah,
it's probably got some steroids. It's probably got some whatever.
Slowly degenerating your body. Some of the steroids and the stuff that they use in the meat, it could even fuck up your DNA.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. And that's when you go food shopping. Now we can kind of agree. We can sit here and say that food shopping and you cook your own food usually better than going out.
Usually, yeah, because at least you know what you're putting into it.
Right, and you can track whatever, like you go to a restaurant, you get a steak, it's basted fucking with gallons of butter usually. You know what I'm saying? Like your vegetables are cooked in tons of oil and all this shit.
Fucking bacon grease or just something.
Right. It's stuff you don't even think about
because
when you're tracking calories.
They're not focused on making something that's healthy and like sustainable for the body, but more like just something that's going to taste good, that's going to sell.
Right. So that's the comparison there. And that's if you're going out to eat. That's if you're buying your own food and cooking it.
Yeah.
A lot of people today don't do that. So what's the quickest and the cheapest? Everyone's got to get here in America, everyone's got to have a deal. If there's a deal somewhere, you're going to go and order that.
Yeah.
$5 hot and ready Little Caesars. How the fuck? And you have a family. You have 2 kids and you're a single mom. Like, of course you're going to go get that every time.
Because it doesn't hurt you so much financially, but it's not necessarily the most like healthiest option.
And it's convenient in the whole thing. Like, imagine if there was $5 hot and ready fucking, I don't know, something good for you. Something that would be better for you. But if you want something good for you or better for you, you have to go to Whole Foods and spend money that a lot of people don't have necessarily.
It's pretty twisted how expensive like it is to eat like healthy if you don't have like farmers markets or stuff like that, like local to you.
And bad food's addicting.
It is.
It's super addicting. I have the sweet tooth. The sweet tooth. When people say sweet tooth, that's me. There's some weeks I'll go the whole week where every night I have to have something sweet.
I feel that, like,
and it's terrible
after like a meal, especially. Like, it just feels like the way to end a meal.
Plus, I smoke weed. It's terrible. Like that's the
only reason why I don't smoke that much.
Right, it'd be even worse for you.
It makes my eating habits horrible. I'll go to McDonald's, I'll get a bunch of shit, and then I'll want more food after because food like that will make you hungry quickly.
And you don't eat that food until you're full. You eat it until you're fucking done. You're like, ugh.
Not even full.
Now I'm done. Like,
until your body can't keep up with the shit that you've put into it.
Yes, yeah. And sometimes you do need to do that. You got to indulge. Yeah. I'm a big believer in that.
It's healthy to indulge.
Totally.
It's just moderation.
Yeah.
You could literally do anything. You just need to moderate yourself.
Totally.
Like you could smoke cigarettes like regularly. Like maybe like if you did like maybe once a week, you're like, I'm gonna have one cigarette once a week. It's not gonna destroy you.
Right.
It's just not.
Especially if you add exercise into the play. Like that's a massive many people live so sedentary. Like they work, their job is sitting, they stand up, they go to their car where they sit and drive home, and then they go home and they sit. And it's just so much, there's very little walking. Some people, the only walking they do is
to their car.
To the car, up the stairs to their apartment.
Yeah.
Like, if you just walked, if you went for a walk for fucking 45 minutes every day, you'd be in exponentially better condition.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, you have to run a mile. You literally just go on like a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
And that would make a huge difference in your circulation and your heart rate. Mm-hmm. Like, all that shit that would just make you just like generally healthier. Another thing for me is that and it's something that I usually don't like share, but it's just a matter of fact, so I share it anyway. It's so because I was diabetic for so long and I was so out of control. Another thing that a lot of diabetics will struggle with, specifically diabetic men, is they'll struggle with their hormone regulation. So for me,
is that a thyroid thing?
It's not a thyroid thing.
I know the thyroid controls hormones, but I don't know if it's
one of the organs that controls hormones. I'm not exactly sure which organs in this case. But so basically when I was like 3 years ago, so like when I was like 22, 23, I felt like shit constantly. Like I had been feeling like shit for years. It was very little things. Like I was always depressed because I always felt like shit. Mm-hmm. I felt misunderstood and alone emotionally, mentally. My mental state was horrible. But on top of that, my physical state wasn't good either. So I went to the doctor and I found out that I had low testosterone.
Right.
And low testosterone in males it can fuck you up.
Oh, totally.
Because
tired.
Once if your hormones are unbalanced, you're producing as a man, you're producing more estrogen. You're going to gain weight. You're going to be more emotional. You're going to be more irritable.
Right.
And it's just because it's just not the hormone for your biology. So like me, I don't know what my estrogen level were, but I knew that my testosterone was like 2/3 what it was supposed to be for a man my age. And then so at first my doctor, he prescribed me estrogen blockers, which I was taking those for like 2 months, and immediately I felt better.
Right.
Immediately, like I literally like within like a week, I felt more focused. I had more energy. I felt like just more positive. Like I was happy to be alive, And that's just show how much
made a huge difference.
It made a huge regulating my testosterone. It made me, because like I had dreams, I had aspirations, but like the way that I felt was so shitty that it wasn't enough. So eventually, I found that okay, this isn't my fault necessarily. This is just my biology. So I had low testosterone for a little while, for like I don't even know, God knows how long, but I had it for a little while, and I started to treat it. After I started to treat it, I was going to the gym, I was feeling better, I was feeling more confident, I was talking to girls, I felt great. Like I just felt great.
Right.
And then, the estrogen blockers were able to bring it up like by 100 or so, which is good, but still not where I wanted to be. And so then I started taking actual like injectable steroids.
Okay.
Which helped me a lot, because then I was going to the gym like every day. I was getting more toned. I felt great. I felt confident. And it was just crazy to me that, wow, this was the thing that I was missing to get me to like appreciate life and love myself and take care of myself.
What do you do now? Is there anything that you do now, or is your testosterone more or less regulated?
It's more or less regulated. I try to work out regularly.
Of course.
I try to work out. I try not to eat like crap all the time, because that can also bring you down if you're really unhealthy physically.
Yep.
But the thing for me is right now I'm like having this issue with my insurance, and they're not fucking covering my shots anymore. So like it's been like 3 months I've been off of it. I've noticed I've become a little sleepier, a little less motivated, a little more emotional. And I'm like, I was just talking to my friend today, and I was like, oh, it's probably because I haven't had my fucking injections in a while. Because as a diabetic, we can get that prescribed, because it's an actual thing that we have to deal with. It's not like I'm just shooting up for fun.
Right.
It actually like helps,
Have you ever tried supplementing with DHEA?
What's that?
It's a steroid that our bodies already make.
DHEA?
DHEA. And it's linked to testosterone levels. And you can buy it over the counter. Again, I don't know. Again,
it's like one of those things that like naturally brings it up, right? Or like it activates
exactly. It's like It's like supplementing vitamin C or something. We already have vitamin C, but when you supplement it, it boosts it. It brings more of it out. Whatever.
Yeah.
So the DHEA is a similar thing. It has to do. I'm pretty sure it's made in the thyroid, so it activates whatever enzymes make that happen.
Like it boosts the production of it, so that you're not just like. So it's just like it's more active. It's like you're more actively producing it versus only like when you're exercising or something like that.
Right. And I don't know where it went. I had a full bottle of it, but I promise I didn't take them all. I used to take it. I used to supplement it twice a day, and I saw a difference. Like I saw a tangible difference in my energy levels, like you're saying. I felt more intense in my workouts. I all around felt better.
Dude, yeah, I believe you, dude. When I was like really unhealthy, like when I was a teenager, I would go to the gym. I wanted to work out. I wanted to get big and muscular and all that. But another thing is that my muscles weren't building properly because of that, because I wasn't metabolizing the protein, and I would just get really fatigued. Like I would get so fatigued exercising, like just one day out of the week. Like I would do curls and shit, and then I would be like this the next like fucking 4 days. I wouldn't be able to extend my arm because that's how cramped up I would be.
Right. Well, sleep is huge. People forget about sleep. That's massive.
Sleep is fucking huge.
And hydration.
Yeah.
People do not drink enough water.
I still don't drink enough water. I need to drink more water.
That's part of the reason why people are groggy, they have headaches, or they have a cramp like that in the gym where their arm is stuck or their leg is fucked and they can't finish a workout. There's people don't ever think about the importance of
I was just
just
checking
smiling
in.
at the camera.
Just checking in because it's been a while since I looked over there. How's it going?
Yeah, people don't ever think about the importance of drinking water. And I remember one of my teachers in elementary school. It was always an old woman. And I remember her saying, water is like, and this was in elementary school. This was, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, right? You'd be 10, 11, yeah, something like that. Maybe even before that. And she was like, water is a new thing. Like now water is it's the most popular beverage above soda. Like her generation, everyone's like, I'll just have a Coke. Like, what do you mean? Like it was more about that. And then people started bottling water, which became, of course, the biggest scam to ever be created.
Yeah.
But it got a lot of people drinking water, so maybe it's good. I don't know. But before that, it does
suck that water isn't something that we, like clean drinking water isn't something that we have access to just like as a basic human right.
Yeah, just abundantly. Yeah.
Because a lot of third world countries, they don't have access to clean water. But like especially in America, it's like they've taken this thing that we literally need to live and put a price tag on it.
Just like everything. Everything's commodified. We're talking about medicine. If you don't have insurance, I don't have insurance. I'm fucked if I get diabetes or something happens. I'm fucked.
I've heard about it's fucking horrible, man. I've heard stories of kids, 22-year-old kids who just fucking died because they couldn't afford insulin.
Yeah. Or afford whatever the care is. Like it's just what you're saying. It's things that we need are less affordable unless you buy into whatever system. That's why jobs and corporate jobs and all this shit, you get insurance. You get benefits, they call it. So that when you're old, you don't have to keep working. You saved all this money. Look at this 401k. Look at this mutual fund, this pension plan, whatever. But you also have insurance for yourself, your whole family, the whole thing. You got to buy into all that shit.
And the country would be so much more efficient if they took better care of its people.
You think?
I think so.
On the way that we operate now, I feel like the way we operate now is we run 100 miles an hour every day. We are used to kind of being sold shit all the time. Tons of stimuli keep us occupied, our minds occupied. You know what I started doing? I started not listening to music on the subway and just kind of sitting there and thinking about shit.
And why'd you do that?
Well, I just found that every waking moment, it was like I needed something
to distract you.
I need to be watching. I need to be listening to something. I need to be doing so. And it gets exhausting.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes, in theory, in any community, large, small, whatever, you want everyone to be healthy. And it obviously works in other societies and other countries. But other countries don't value the same things we value over here. I think over here we value just being the top dog. And if you're not, then you're a bum.
Yeah.
Like that's not the way other countries look at it. I've been out of the country. I don't know if you have.
Not too much.
Yeah. Like I've been over to Europe and people aren't spending money isn't their only pastime. Like it's not, they spend some money to entertain, right? A bottle of wine, a pack of cigarettes, a coffee or something.
Yeah.
But they take life differently. Over here, it's like, for this system to work, people kind of need to be horribly unhealthy.
It's
true.
Fucked.
It's fucked.
It's what feeds the economy.
Yeah. It's a fucked situation. But nonetheless, we can try our best. I think the fact that we're trying to be stand-up comedians is like an active... I look at it as an act of rebellion. Maybe because I'm a dweeb, but I look at it in the sense of like, I'm going to figure it out. I don't necessarily need to be led, and I, even if you don't look at it that way, I look at you as someone who's in that realm,
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of understanding of the world in order to even do something like that.
Sure.
And that's another thing that's like really important about stand-up as an art is that like if we really let the world and all its horribleness get to us, then everyone's gonna want to fucking die. No one's gonna want to be alive and live. But through humor, you can kind of see that things aren't that bad.
Yeah. Well, I heard a quote. One of my good friends, he told me it. He's like, I don't know where he got it from, but if you tell them the truth, I forget what it exactly is. If you tell them the truth, they'll hate you. But if you make them laugh while you tell them the truth, they'll pay attention. And I thought that was really interesting.
That's a good quote.
But I think back to what you were saying, another reason why people don't go against the grain and do some creative route or live their life a way that isn't cookie cutter television, do what your parents say type thing, is they don't have that understanding of how shit works, and they don't care to, and maybe they're happier than people who do. But I think that's where the distinction is. Some people are enlightened in a certain way, and they're like, I don't know if I like the way that all that works. Maybe I'll go try something else. And then if I have to, then fuck it. I'll buy into the system and live the way that everyone else does. But if I can, I would like to try to not to. And that's kind of how I feel. And I feel like that's how a lot of other people in the creative artists, whatever.
You have to earn enough money to truly be free. That's what the scary fucked up thing is
right.
Like, and I realized that a few maybe like 4 years ago, that like, as like if you're working like a 9-to-5 job 5-6 days a week, and you get to take a vacation every once in a while, that's great, but you're a slave.
Yeah,
so you're a slave to the economy. You're a slave to money because you need it in order to survive. So the only way you can truly be free is either fucking buy land somewhere, start farming, become self-sufficient,
right,
or make enough money so that you can do whatever it is that you want.
Yes, yeah, or be broke as a motherfucker and just drop out of society altogether, which nobody wants to do. I mean,
just be voluntarily homeless.
Right. Just be a vagabond who just drives in his van.
Start robbing trains and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think when you say vagabond.
A vagabond, I know. That's like a word that I heard that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, my favorite movie.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. That's
Tarantino.
Yeah, that's a Tarantino movie.
Fantastic movie. Fantastic. I'm a big Tarantino fan.
Love Tarantino. Fucking my favorite. Well, I really like Django.
Sure.
But my favorite was Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, so good.
It was just so fucking funny.
Christoph Waltz. I mean, the fact.
Oh yeah, the German dude.
Dude, how good at acting can you get? I mean, Jesus Christ, he spoke 4 languages in that movie.
Yeah, that's crazy impressive, the casting that they did for that movie.
Even Tarantino said, he's like, I think I made a character I can't cast. Like, I don't know who I'm going to get to do this. Like, this is, and he spoke, obviously spoke German, he spoke English, he spoke French, and he spoke Italian for that brief moment.
Yeah.
What was his name? Rocco de Coco, or whatever the fuck his name is.
It's like, it's fucking, what was it? It was Brad Pitt, right?
Brad Pitt.
It's like I speak the most Italian.
Yeah. And it was like ciao or something. And then he speaks the like second
buongiorno.
most. Yeah, buongiorno. That's what it is.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, great movie. He's making his last movie supposedly.
Really? What's that?
He's starting it, I think, sometime this year. I saw an article about it. I don't know what it's going to be about, and I forget the title. It has like movie in the title. Or like it's like the cinema critic or the movie critic, it's called. Something like that.
Okay.
And he says it's going to be his last one. Which
good for him.
Which is great to see, but as a fan, I'm selfish. Like, I want more.
You're like, get back to work, Brad.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
You got to remember that these are people too.
Right.
They once you see people on the screen, they become these idols and these gods in their own way that you like. You're giving your time and attention to.
Yeah.
And like that's. You gotta remember that they're also people, and that's why when like celebrities fuck up and do something stupid, they get so much hate and criticism. That they're just people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you do stupid shit. There's just no camera in your face. Nobody knows about you.
It suck.
Yeah. I mean, especially here, celebrity is one of the biggest things you can accomplish. Fame is very close to wealth in this country.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's other countries that value their movie stars like we do. Their movie stars, their musicians. Some places, right? I'm sure they do, but not the same way we do. It's kind of specific to this region of the world. Before we wrap this thing up, I feel like we have to talk about this because this episode will be out before Oppenheimer comes out. Are you going to see Oppenheimer? I want to see Oppenheimer.
I still don't know what it's about. I've seen the commercial like 5 times. I don't know what it's about. It looks cool. But
you don't remember learning about Oppenheimer in like high school or anything?
No.
So Oppenheimer was the fucking organization that created the atomic bomb.
Oh,
or
shit.
he was the guy, I should say, not the organization. The project was the Manhattan Project, it was called. But the guy, I think his name is John J. Oppenheimer. I could be fucking his name up. He's the guy who created the fucking technology of the atomic bomb. Albert Einstein, obviously the guy who said that it's possible. If you split an atom, it'll be an otherworldly fucking explosion. You're going to fuck a lot of people up. And Oppenheimer was like, we're doing it. So a bunch of money was funded, the bomb was created, and boom, we ended the war and became
That's what's like. Science is fucking insane, dude. Fucking, it's the bare bones of like what makes up the world, and if you can understand it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like physics, I minored in physics.
Okay.
Also, and physics is fucking crazy.
So hard to understand.
Like I learned a little bit about like quantum mechanics, stuff like that.
Right.
And it's interesting because it's just how the world on a physical level works. And like even like splitting an atom, that's like some new nuclear physics shit.
Right.
Like atomic physics.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because to have an understanding of that stuff, you obviously have to have a specific mind, because when I was in school, I liked learning about biology.
Yeah.
I took some biology courses in college because I had to, and I enjoyed them. I liked them. But you grasp it a little bit more because it's maybe a little more tangible. We're talking about us, how we're built, cells, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though it's all theoretical, right? That's the other thing people forget about science. It's all theories. I had a teacher in college be like, we have to look at everything. We have to look at every scientific thing, every theory as a theory. Gravity is just a theory. We have to be so open-minded that one day we have to entertain the thought that one day we could wake up and we're on the ceiling. Like the gravity.
We were wrong about gravity.
We were wrong. Like eventually it'll run out or something. We didn't know.
Yeah.
But to grasp physics, it's like intangible. It's kind of abstract. You're learning about, I guess it's the way the world works, but I just feel like it's harder to grasp. And it's harder to grasp than something like biology. Same thing with chemistry. Like chemistry, again, organic chemistry in the sense of...
I couldn't fucking stand. I took organic chemistry fucking 3 times before I passed it.
And that's just what, 5 elements, right?
Yeah, it's like
oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, and there's one or two more in there.
There's a couple others. I don't know. It's like 8 to 10. I don't fucking know. To be honest, I passed that class with a C.
Yeah.
And I really fucking tried.
Just to get through it. Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
Chemistry is its own fucking language. It's
right.
like math adjacent, but it's a completely like different thing. And it's cool because it's like it's one of those building blocks for things. Like most things have a chemical compound. Or a chemical formula of some sort, but it's just I couldn't fuck it. It was my least favorite fucking class all through college, was anything chemistry related.
Yeah, that's the other point. That's that good point that you bring up. It's close to math. Chemistry and physics are both. You need both science and math, whereas biology, it's a little more intuitive parts of it. You have a better understanding of it than I do, but.
Only slightly.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, only slightly.
Yeah.
Like, physics, what I like about physics is that, like, it just explains, and you're right, breaking it down, it's mostly theoretical, all of this, because science is always changing. what's cool about physics is like you see things, and growing up, not everybody's gonna be like, oh, why when I drop this pencil and this rock at the same time, do they hit the ground at the same time? Even though one's heavier.
Right.
It explains why forces work the way that they do. Like why, like for example, like the existence of matter is fascinating, right? That there is matter, because it's true. It's like air, gas, for example. We can't see it. We can sort of feel it, but at the end of the day, the way that you really can tell that it's something that does exist is like if you have like a bottle of water, right? It has a little air bubble in it. Right? There's nothing in there. There's an air bubble in there. And once you open that, the air will be released.
Right.
But you can't have a bottle that's completely filled with water. There's always going to be a tiny bit of air in it because matter takes up space. Solid, liquid, or gas, it takes up space in some way. So, like your bed, for example, and you have the air in the room. If you fill this room with water, it's not like the water would consume those other things. The water would consume the space around it.
Right.
So these things are real because, and that's just proof that they exist, you know? Like, and going back to like the matter thing. Like you have like solid, liquid, gases. Obviously, solids are the most compact. Liquids, they're more fluid. You know, it all depends how far the atoms are away from each other. But like with gas, everything is free. That's why you can, for the most part, move freely through it. You can move freely through water, but you can't move freely through a chair.
Right.
And the fact is, these things take up space, and they're real. And my point is just that, like, sure, a lot of it is theoretical, but the basics make sense.
Sure. Right. I mean, there's stronger theories than others, is basically what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't imagine what they were thinking once they figured out that they could make a bomb that could level cities. I mean, I guess they were thinking, hey, we can end this war like now.
Yeah. Because at the time, like, no one else had this technology. No one else
not even close,
dude. Happening with the Manhattan Project.
Right.
So when these people fucking dropped a bomb on them, they're like, shit, what the fuck do we do now?
We warned them. Hey, we did. I mean, what? Come on, bro. We're the Americans. We got to finish it. And what's funny is that, I mean, it's funny, you know, aside from taking out 2 cities in Japan.
Where else is the humor?
Is how after that we realized the cheat code. We were like, we made a lot of money on this war. Everyone knows us now. Like we just saved the fucking world. We beat the Germans, who had a crazy guy that was killing a lot of people, and we beat the Japanese, who was on their side. We made a lot of money. It was big for the economy. There's tons of production. Let's say we head on over to Korea. And then how about we head on over to Vietnam? And then after that, we'll go to Iraq, then Afghanistan.
People don't realize it, but a lot of these countries, they have like American-made shit, like American-made weapons, bombs, guns.
Totally.
It's just for money, because it's like, oh, all this craziness going on. Everyone else has weapons. You're going to need some weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. That's why now you can say we're doing the same thing with Ukraine. We're just not there.
Yeah.
We're going to say, hey, here's all these guns. You guys owe us. Hey, when this war is done, when everything's all finished and nobody's killing each other, you owe us. Don't forget that part. And that's why all over the world, people are indebted to us.
And that's why a lot of countries hate America, because they get to be on the flip side of this, and they can see really what's like happening out there.
Right.
You know, they're seeing like, that their militaries or organizations are being given these horrible weapons. They're like using them on their own people and against other people. And they, like, you know, as Americans, we were very fucking lucky.
And we're so worried about other countries using nukes. Oh, what if he does it? We're the only ones that's ever done it. We're the only ones.
Really?
That's ever used a fucking weapon like that. We used the biggest weapon ever. I mean, the biggest bomb that was ever created was by the Russians. I think it was called the Tsar Bomba, but they just tested it. They didn't drop it on anybody. We made the weapon, and used it twice. And now we're the ones who are saying, no, nobody else. That's it. Nobody else.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, it's wild. I think that's a good way to wrap this wrap this beautiful
nuclear destruction.
Nuclear destruction. Again, we leave this episode with tons of hope for the human race.
Drink water.
Drink water. Don't get diabetes.
Don't get. I wouldn't recommend it.
Thank you so much for coming on, sir. I definitely appreciate it. It was a little short notice, but I thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun, man. It's good to see you.
You totally. Do you have any dates? Right? We never even talked about how you produce a show, but go ahead and let people know about some dates and about the show that you run.
Sure. So,
if you have any,
I do have a couple. So, coming up this week, I have a show tomorrow night.
So Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
Oh, they won't.
19th. No one's gonna see that. No one's gonna know. But that's when the next one is.
Yeah, right.
And then also have another one Thursday. Wednesday's gonna be at Under the Boot, Jersey City on Grove Street. Thursday's gonna be Brightside Tavern in Jersey City.
Nice.
I also run a monthly show at St. Mark's Comedy Club, which Antonio's been on.
Yes, very fun.
And
go to it.
We're at St. Mark's Comedy Club, Tofurkey Comedy. Follow me on Instagram if you want at Matt. Oh, what is it? What the fuck's my thing again? Yeah, there we go. It's mattriv.era, Matt Rivera.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my name. It's not Mateos.
We got to it by the end of the the end of the episode.
But wait, before we go, did you have any questions about producing that you wanted answered?
Is it? Okay. Yeah, it is mattriv.era. Perfect. Yeah. Just checking.
Nice. I didn't fuck up my own tag. That's great.
I was just going to ask the contrast. Like, do you like making your own shows? Is it a headache? Is it a good thing because you meet people? Like, yeah.
There's a lot of pros, and just to keep it brief, there's a lot of pros and cons to producing a show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that any new comics should definitely look into it because
it's a good idea.
As a new comic, you don't get a lot of stage time. No one's going to like you. No one's going to want to give you spots. You have to make friends, make relationships, and network, and that could be your way of getting booked. But if you don't have that or the social skills to do that yet, then producing a show could be a great way to get into that. I've been producing shows for almost 2.5 years now.
Nice.
And I would say it can be stressful. It's a lot of work, but if you have a good team behind you, I'm lucky that I do, then you can make it happen consistently. And at the end of the day, you're creating stage time for other comics and also for yourself. So if you're at a point in your comedy career where I'm not getting booked, all I'm doing is open mics, start a fucking show. Start a show, and the experience that you get from doing that will elevate you so much more, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Thanks so much for having me.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you next week. Maybe Billy will be here. Maybe he'll be sent packing. I'll give him his, what do they call that? The hobo thing where it's like a stick. It's like a broomstick. Yeah. You'll see Billy on the fucking side of the highway thumbing, looking for a new podcast to co-host.
Just walking around with his laptop.
All right, gang. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Adios.